Today we're going to be going over the charts in TastyTrade, and I want to show you also some of my personal settings that I use to look at the chart patterns before I buy and sell options. So stick around for that. All right, let's go ahead and get into the platform. All right, as you can see, I've got my chart, my main chart display here, and now there's two options here. Before we dive into the chart, there's two tabs here for charts in TastyTrade. There's the chart, and then there's the Tasty chart. And so we'll first go into this chart, which is the one that I use more frequently, because the reason why is because this chart ties in with the rest of the platform. When I type in Palantir, it shows up the chart for Palantir. If I type in AI, it's going to show up the chart for an AI. So it matches what the platform has. If you go to the Tasty chart, you can put in whatever symbol that you want, and it's not going to match the rest of the platform. The platform is not going to change whenever you type in this box. So it can be a little confusing if you're only looking at one stock. Where Tasty chart has its benefit is you can have more than one showing up. So if you're doing pairs trading or something like that, that's going to be more for you because you can have multiple rows and columns. So that's more on that. For me, I mainly use the regular chart here because it does tie into the rest of the platform. So we have AI right here. Let's bounce back to PLTR, and you can see that I've kind of modified my chart settings. But what do we see here on this display? For one, we have the indicators. The indicators tab is going to show you all of the indicators that are available in TastyTrade. And you can group those. You have the built-in, and then you have the Tasty studies themselves. I don't know what the difference are with those, but you can group those if you want. What I usually stick to are the moving averages for support lines. So I have my indicators already ready, but the exponential moving average is EMA. So you can type that in, and you'll find EMA right here. You can double click it, and it will add to this row. And this is the current indicators on your chart. So right now I've got the EMA. It defaults to close, and I usually just keep it on close. And the length defaults to 9 candlesticks. We have the daily pattern or the daily chart visible, so it's going to show a 9-day moving average. So that's the length. You can make that whatever you want. I'll show you what my current settings are after we get into this. Kind of go through some of these. So if you want to add EMA, exponential moving average, there's SMA, and then different kinds of variants of that. There are a pretty good list of studies on this chart. So there's plenty. I see Bollinger Bands. There's all kinds of different ones. So like I said, usually I just try to keep it simple with some moving averages that I put in there. That's the indicators. We'll get into that more on my personal settings at the end of the video. So what we've got right here next to the indicators button is the daily, weekly, monthly, or hourlies. If you want your candlestick patterns to be less than a day, then you can do the 12-hour. So that represents that one candle is 12 hours of time. So you can go as far as you want. You can go to the 2-minute chart, the 1-minute chart, which there's not really any use, at least for me, to go there. 5-minute chart. And then so on the right, the next button is the time interval, as far as like how long, how many candlesticks do you have? And so that'll adapt whenever you do your 5-minute or your 1-minute, your daily, so on and so forth. I usually just stick with the daily, and then it goes, I'll stick with 10 years. I don't use 10 years, but if I ever want to go back, then I at least have 10 years of candlesticks to go back and look. So I just like to have that on default, 10 years in the daily. You could also do the weekly too, and but I usually just stick with the daily. And that just gives me a look at the pattern, right? I want to see the chart pattern. Are we seeing trends before I decide to do my option strategy? You can also change what you want to see. You can do the candlestick chart. You can do a line chart, area chart. You can do tick charts. Plenty of options here. The bar chart. Take a look at some of these just for visual. So if you're more fan of looking at the bar chart, I usually stick with candles, but there's the line chart, area chart. Again, I just stick with the candlesticks. Here is the settings tab for the chart. So you have the layout, snap to candle. That's a good one to have whenever you're drawing lines and trend lines. It'll snap to your the current candle that you've got selected. So yeah, this is where you can access different themes, like change colors and stuff like that. You can do the regular dark, the light. Then I've got my custom theme there. Show earnings here in the events and show dividends. And my earnings symbol is right here. From what I can see, it only does past earnings. It doesn't give you future earnings symbols on there. Some shortcuts, but really I don't see why you'd really want to use the shortcuts unless you were consistently looking at your orders or wanting to take your indicators off and back on. You could do that. Personally, I don't have much use for it. So, but yeah, really for your theme, that's really where you can change your colors and things like that. That's the most that I found out of the charts useful. Next to that is the crosshairs. So I think default, the TastyTrade chart has the graph or the information, the high, low, close open, and then your different indicators show up here by each candle. It can get in the way, and I found just to keep that off of the crosshair. So if you want to do that, you can just put crosshair only, and it takes that away. If you want that information, it actually hides right here in this little arrow. So if you want to keep that open but away from your crosshairs from your mouse, so you can actually see the chart, that's a handy tool right there to look at. So you can get the information you want. You can do no crosshair as well if you're just wanting to click around without having to look at the crosshair if that's getting in your way. So here is where you can put your tools in. So I'm a big fan of doing trend lines and price lines, and you can make them your own default. So default settings. So let's just look at Palantir here. This is a stock that I like, and I want to kind of draw it up. So let's do a price level at around this candle. I'm seeing some support there from the past, and so we can see there we may have a bottom. I might actually adjust that to match this bottom. And then I'll change the color if I want. We'll do a yellow, and we'll do one. You can do the solid line, dotted, short dashed, any different kinds of settings there. I stick with solid, and then you can adjust your width. Now, one is going to be good enough for you because when you zoom in and you make it more than one, it kind of takes away some of the candlesticks there. So I like to keep it thin so it doesn't get in the way. You can hide the label if you want. You want a right position. You can label it as well. And so you can make these settings save as defaults here. And so that's what I'm working on, is getting my account set up for defaults. And I actually think I'm going to make that orange for price. We'll make that a default. And you can always reset the default if you want. So I've got my price line there. I like where it's at right there. I also want to make a trend line going up. So let's go to the indicator trend line. Let's do an extended line. So I want to start with this candle right here, and I see a trend forming on the bottom right here. So I don't think that Palantir, we're seeing higher lows, and it's following this trend line right here. Could it break this trend line? Yeah, but I think we see some good support showing right here. and some buying action here in the volume. So anyways, I see that. I can kind of picture that volume. I've already got it set up to not extend to the left. I like to start with my furthest back candle, and I've got my 2 points plotted, and I want to see the future. I could point it to the back. I'm not too interested in it. But yeah, there we go. If you wanted to see historically, where those 2 lines, is there previous support showing there? That might be valuable to you. It might like help solidify that trend line. But I usually like to go back as far as I can and then project it to the right. And so anyways, that's how you can do that. And then change the color if you want. And you can set that as save as defaults there as well, the same way. You can do it with going downwards too. Pick this highest point, and then we want to project it down. This one might not be as accurate just because it is pretty steep. It's a pretty steep slope, but drawing kind of a downward trend there, at least for a temporary trend line. What other things do we have here? Fibonacci bands. You can do different shapes, triangle, rectangle, oval, a text note. So if you want to leave a note for yourself, add the text note. See what that looks like. Yes, there you go. And then looks like you can change the colors and the size. And do those different kind of things there. Add an arrow. Then move and adjust. So I hit the delete key to get that off there. It's just not a note that I'm leaving for myself. Let's look at the zoom function. So we're still going across the top here. Let's look at the zoom. You can do the zoom here like this by just clicking here. If you want to zoom in or zoom out, you can grab the chart and hold the left button. You can zoom with your scroll on your mouse pad. And then also you can kind of zoom in based on the y-axis for price, and then also for the time if you want to do that. And then yeah, we've pretty well made our way around the chart. Let's look at more of these indicators and kind of my personal indicators that I use. What I've got is, and I got my moving averages from Pat at Our Mission Winners. I like to watch that channel, so if you get time, check that channel out. He goes over a weekly update on some of his stocks that he's watching. So he's somebody that I follow. But anyway, so he has the 8 EMA moving average, and that's my yellow line. And then we have the 21 EMA, which is that blue line there. And then the SMA, which is my 50 green. And then we have a 200, which is a purple color. That's probably down. Yeah, that's my 200 EMA right there. So we have those and the volume subgraph. So if you're wondering, how do I get the volume out of my chart? Because TastyTrade default comes with the, let's see if I can recreate it here. It comes with the volume main graph. So it actually displays in front of your chart. So the volume bars can get in the way of your price. If you want to remove that from your chart, you can add it as a sub graph. So I've got the main graph right here. We take that off. It's going to remove the volume. And if you still want the volume, but you want it on the bottom side of the chart, separate from the price action, there's a volume subgraph. This volume subgraph is going to take the volume bars and drop it down below your price action, below your candles, and then you can adjust your Colors, you select this right here and you can adjust your colors however you want, whatever style you're looking for, how much you want to see, how you want to keep it faded or really bright, the opacity there. And then you can adjust those how you like. And those are the ones that I've got there. Those are just kind of my bare bones chart patterns. I want to see how these volume, or I want to see the volume, but I want to see how the moving averages are against the chart patterns, and that's pretty much all I'm looking for. And then I'll draw up some trend lines, some price lines, and just see how the price action works with those. So that's kind of my layout right there. And I mainly use this one chart, but also, like I said, we have the Tasty chart here. So if you're somebody that does pairs trading, this would be a benefit to you. And then you can see the layout is very similar. You've got day and year, zooming in, zooming out. These are your indicators that you can add, and your crosshairs, what kind of chart type you want, the chart settings, drawing tools, and then you can actually load or save your settings and load your settings. So if you have it all laid out for this one chart here, you can save it and then load it to the other charts if you wish. You can have a maximum of 4 charts at one time on this. And like I said, it's good for pairs trading. So you want to see how another stock is doing compared to the SPY, the spiders, for example. You can have those two together there, in whatever way you want. Yeah, there we go. So that might be something that's useful for you if you want to kind of look at it that way. So yeah, that pretty well covers the charts. And so if you're someone that's new to TastyTrade and you're looking to see how the platform works in general, check out this video. It goes over more on how the platform works.